Wisteria was taken out onto the streets every single day by her foster father to beg for money. If she failed to bring in enough money, she would be brutally beaten by him. Ever since she was a child, Wisteria had been able to see things that ordinary people could not perceive. By a twist of fate, she came to know a demon named Marbas. Marba, who had not been seen by any human for 400 years, developed an intense interest in Wisteria simply because she could see him. From that moment on, the once abandoned Wisteria and the long lonely Marbas became friends. The two made a promise. Every night at midnight, Wisteria would knock 3 times on her bedroom window, and Marbas would appear. He would tell her fantastical stories to lull her to sleep. Wisteria grew curious about whether Marbas could transform into a human. After hearing this, Marba immediately turned into human form. In this state, humans were able to see him, but it also tended to attract unnecessary trouble, and maintaining a human form consumed an enormous amount of his demonic power. Wisteria always begged Marbas to take her away with him, but Marba refused, because helping a human without demanding a price in return would violate the laws of demons, and doing so would cause his body to collapse. Wisteria said she was willing to offer her soul to him, because Marbas was the person she trusted most in the world, but Marbas still refused. The next day, Wisteria was faced with the darkest moment of her life. Her foster father sold her to a powerful local magnate named Cohen. Not long after, she was brought before Cohen. Cohen then led her into a room that had already been prepared. But what appeared before Wisteria's eyes was a room covered wall to wall with instruments of torture. In the very next second, Cohen revealed his hideous true face. Wisteria shoved him away in terror and turned to flee toward the door. At the same time, when Marbas learned that Wisteria had been sold to Cohen, he was instantly consumed by rage. He rushed toward Cohen's residence at full speed. Then he transformed into human form, wanting to settle the matter in a human way, and he slammed a bag of gold coins onto the floor. But Cohen suddenly tightened his grip around Wisteria's neck and threatened to turn her into a specimen. At that very moment, cracks began to appear across Marbas' body. This was the price a demon pays for helping a human for free. Wisteria struggled desperately and broke free from Cohen's control. Just as Cohen was about to catch up, Marbas struck him down on the spot. Wisteria could not understand why Marbas would sacrifice himself just to save her. Marbas said that Wisteria's appearance had freed him from loneliness. He wanted to spend the future together with her. At that moment, a demon with ram-to-like horns suddenly appeared. It turned out to be a demon that Cohen had summoned with his dying breath. That demon immediately launched a fierce attack. But Marbas, who was already suffering immense pain from having violated demonic law, was no match for it at all. At the critical moment, Wisteria declared that she was willing to offer her eyes as the price to form a demonic contract with Marbas. As the contract was completed, Marba transformed back into his true demon form. With only a single raised finger from Marbas, a massive torrent of flames shot forward in an instant. That demon had no time to escape and was completely burned to ashes by the fire. Marba held Wisteria in his arms and walked out from within the raging inferno. Although Wisteria could no longer see, she felt no regret at all. Instead, she felt deeply happy. From that day on, Marbas would become her eyes and take her to see the beauty of the world. The next day, Marba brought Wisteria to an old house on the outskirts of town. Because it had been uninhabited for so long, the house had already fallen into total disrepair. After Marbas finished cleaning it up, the place instantly became neat and tidy again. After that, Marbas took Wisteria into the city to buy her a change of clothes. While Wisteria was choosing her clothes, she unexpectedly met a noble girl named Diana. The two girls, who were the same age, quickly became friends. Afterward, Diana told her bodyguard Naberius to temporarily step away because she wanted to choose clothes alone with Wisteria. The moment Naberius stepped outside the shop, he immediately transformed into his demon form. And like coincidence, he encountered Marbas, who had come to pick Wisteria up. It turned out the two were old acquaintances, and both were powerful demons belonging to the 13 plagues of the collapsed kingdom. Before long, Wisteria and Diana finished picking out their clothes. Before the two girls parted ways, they agreed on the time for their next meeting. Afterward, Marba took Wisteria to an upscale restaurant. Because Wisteria could not see, the attentive Marbas gently fed her himself. It was the first time she had ever eaten fresh food. Her face immediately lit up with delight. The taste reminded her of her childhood. of the piece of bread she once shared with her brother Suno. Unfortunately, after Suno had been taken away, he had vanished without a trace ever since. What Wisteria did not know was that Suno was now a member of the Knights of the Sword Cross, a specialized organization dedicated to hunting demons, and he had never stopped searching for his younger sister. During one mission, Suno unexpectedly learned that Wisteria had been taken away by a red-haired demon, so he began investigating everywhere, and finally found Wisteria at last. But the Wisteria of today had already lost her sight. Suno's eyes filled with rage, and he raised his gun and fired at Marbas. But Marbas easily caught the bullet. After that, he told Suno everything that had happened. Upon hearing this, Suno immediately realized the danger, because the Knights of the Sword Cross did not only aim to eliminate demons, they also targeted humans who had formed contracts with demons. In order to protect his sister, Suno had to kill Marbas immediately, and thereby erase their demonic contract. But Suno was completely no match for Marbas. So he turned and ran toward the forest behind them, and took out the specially prepared enchanted bullet. This bullet was capable of destroying any demon. To create an opportunity to strike, Suno deliberately taunted Marbas with mocking words, trying to lure him into the forest. Marba raised his finger and unleashed flames that instantly devoured half the forest. Within the smoke and chaos, Suno seized the moment and pulled the trigger immediately, but at that very moment, Wisteria ran over. Marbas did not hesitate for even a second as he used his own body to block the bullet. Suno was utterly stunned. He could not believe that a demon would protect a human. Wisteria begged Suno to spare them. She truly wanted to live together with Marbas. In the dark days of her past, it was Marbas' appearance that had given her hope. Seeing the determination in his sister's eyes, Suno finally gave in. Even though his heart was filled with unwillingness, he still entrusted his sister to Marbas, and he promised that within the Knights of the Sword Cross, he would do everything in his power to protect their safety. After the two sides agreed on a time to meet again, Suno left alone, and Wisteria and Marbas continued onward on a new journey, because Marbas had promised to become Wisteria's eyes and show her the beauty of the world. Not long after, Wisteria and Marbas traveled to a bustling, prosperous city. When they turned into a narrow alley, they were targeted by two thieves. Marbas subdued them on the spot. One of them was a low-ranking demon named Molly. The girl beside him was his partner, Harriet. Molly begged Marbas to spare them, but Marbas said that he would let them go if they treated Wisteria to a meal. The group then headed to a restaurant together, but Harriet waited for a long time without any waiter coming to take her order. So Harriet handed her wallet to Marbas and asked him to order for her. As Marbas looked at the wallet, he suddenly sensed that something was wrong. Molly hurriedly begged him not to expose the truth. Marba, who did not like to meddle in others' business, agreed. That night, Marbas and Wisteria were chatting in their room, but Molly was secretly eavesdropping from outside the window. Early the next morning, Molly brought Harriet to see them and said that she wanted to become friends with Wisteria. Marba initially wanted to refuse, but Wisteria's stomach suddenly growled. Molly immediately offered to take her out to eat something delicious. Marbas had no choice but to agree. Before they left, he reminded them to protect Wisteria at all costs. Then he plucked one strand of his own hair and tied it around Wisteria's wrist. This strand of hair allowed Marbas to track Wisteria's location at all times, and if she was ever in danger, he would arrive immediately. After that, Molly and Harriet took Wisteria out to eat, and then they visited many famous local attractions. Before long, night fell. The three of them arrived by the river. Harriet, who had never spent time with people her own age before, could not help but open up about her feelings. After her parents died, she had survived by stealing, and being beaten by others was a common occurrence for her. Back then, she had never once held any hope for the future, but at her most helpless moment, she met Molly. Soon after, she formed a demonic contract with him, on the condition that her soul would be offered after her death. Molly helped her carry out theft. As time went on, the bond between them grew deeper and deeper. Wisteria felt a deep resonance with her story, because Harriet's experiences were almost identical to her own past. Just as the two were preparing to head back, Molly suddenly stopped them and said that Wisteria had to be left here. At that moment, a gigantic demon surged out from the river. At the same time, Marbas instantly sensed that Wisteria was in danger, not far away. A man and a woman holding weapons stepped forward. They were members of the Knights of the Sword Cross. A knight named Takanami drew his sword, leapt into the air, and severed the demon's head in a single strike. Molly immediately grabbed Harriet and tried to flee, but Takanami behind them walked straight toward Wisteria instead. He took out a compass used to detect demons. When the needle pointed directly at Wisteria, Takanami prepared to draw his sword, but in the very next instant, the blade shattered into pieces. Marbas appeared in front of Wisteria just in time. With his arrival, the demon detection device instantly went off the charts. The knights immediately sensed Marbas' overwhelming power and launched an attack without hesitation, but they were no match for Marbas at all. At that moment, the female knight suddenly fired several shots at Harriet, using her as a hostage to force Marbas to let them escape. Seeing this, Marbas had no choice but to let the two knights leave, but he had never intended to spare Molly, who had placed Wisteria in danger. Yet under Wisteria's pleas, Marbas finally made a concession, but he demanded that Molly explain why he had framed Wisteria for the sake of a Harriet who was already dead. His words filled both Wisteria and Harriet with confusion. Molly could only reveal the truth. Not long ago, a woman drowned herself in the river after discovering her husband's infidelity. Before she died, she shouted a vicious curse, wishing for everyone to die. By coincidence, a demon in the river heard her words, and through this chance encounter, they formed a demonic contract. In exchange for her life, the demon would slaughter others on her behalf. But not long after that, Harriet suddenly appeared there. The demon in the river immediately emerged and killed her. But before that, Harriet had already signed a demonic contract with Molly. After Harriet's death, her soul therefore remained by Molly's side. But the river demon, furious that it failed to devour Harriet's soul, fell into a violent rage. It had been searching for Molly ever since. That was why Molly had used Wisteria as bait, to lure out the far more powerful Marbas, and have him eliminate that demon. Only then did Harriet finally understand why she no longer felt hunger, why the money in her wallet never ran out, and why everyone seemed unable to see her. It turned out that she had already died long ago, but Harriet did not feel sorrow over her death, because she believed that her life after death was far happier than when she was alive. And all of that was given to her by Molly. Harriet asked Molly to consume her soul, because only then could the gravely wounded Molly survive. Molly immediately refused, because once he devoured her soul, Harriet would disappear completely. But Harriet did not care, because Molly had always been the one protecting her. This time, she wanted to protect Molly. Molly's presence had given this tragic girl hope for life, and Harriet had brought warmth to this weak demon. They embraced each other for a final farewell. Then Harriet dissolved into countless rays of light, and merged into Molly's body. Molly left alone, clutching the only thing Harriet had left behind. After everything had finally come to an end, Wisteria and Marbas soon set off on a new journey. However, Wisteria caught a severe cold, so Marbas carried her on his back, and headed to Diana's estate to seek help. When Diana saw Marbas lying on the bed with a high fever, she angrily scolded him for failing to take proper care of Wisteria. Seeing this powerful demon being lectured by a human girl without daring to fight back, Nibiriasu could not help but burst into laughter, but he was quickly driven out of the room by Diana as well. After resting through the night, Wisteria's fever finally went down. Diana hoped that Wisteria would leave as soon as possible, because her family had recently run into serious trouble, and she feared that Wisteria would be dragged into it. Wisteria knew that she might not be able to help much, but Diana was her best friend, and she still wanted to understand what was really going on. So Diana had no choice but to tell her the truth. The Black Bell family's founding ancestor had once formed a contract with a demon. From that moment on, every member of their family gained the ability to see demons. By relying on this special ability, for the past 350 years, the Black Bell family had served as intermediaries between the royal family and demons, time and time again preventing demon assassination plots against the royal family, and earning tremendous honor as a result. But ever since Saru became the commander of the Knights of the Sword Cross, he had constantly targeted the Black Bell family. Half a year ago, a noble had been suddenly assassinated by a demon. In order to take responsibility for the failure, Diana's elder brother chose to take his own life. After that, the Black Bell family's reputation was ruined, and their situation grew more and more dire. The Knights of the Sword Cross immediately took advantage of this opportunity and launched their operation. Soon, this estate would be turned into a battlefield. So Diana once again urged Marbas to take Wisteria and leave as soon as possible. Marbas also did not want Wisteria to be dragged into this power struggle. So that very evening, he forcibly took Wisteria away from the estate. Not long after they left, the Knights of the Sword Cross launched their attack, but Naberiasu by Diana's side was far too powerful. Several knights were swiftly defeated by him one after another. However, in order to protect Diana, he was also gravely wounded. At that moment, a knight clad head to toe in armor stepped forward. He was none other than the commander, Soru. Naberiasu instantly launched a fierce assault at him. Every single strike aimed directly at Soru's vital points. Yet Soru's injuries healed in an instant. He then picked up a long sword from the ground, and at blinding speed, slashed several deep wounds across Naberiasu's body. At the same time, Marba, unable to put his worries at ease, turned back and returned. Marbas' appearance clearly disrupted Soru's original plan, so he proposed that the two sides settle the matter through negotiation. For Diana, this was without a doubt the best possible option. After she nodded in agreement, both sides agreed on a time and place for the negotiations. The next day, they arrived at the agreed location. Soru directly told Diana that, since her family had failed to stop the demon assassination of a noble, the royal family had already abandoned them, and had dispatched the knights to hunt them down. But if Diana was willing to dissolve her contract with the demon, and swear that the Black Bell family would never again have any ties with demons, he would plead with the royal family to restore the Black Bell family's reputation. Diana rejected the proposal without the slightest hesitation, and turned around to leave. The negotiations thus came to an end, but when night fell, Soru launched his attack. This time, Soru brought along a woman named Astaroth as his ally. She was also one of the 13 plagues of the Broken Kingdom. The moment she appeared, she immediately unleashed her assault. Marbas instantly engaged her in battle. At the same time, Soru raised his hand and gave a signal to the snipers who had long been lying in ambush. The bullets struck Diana with deadly precision. Naberiasu was completely consumed by rage. He immediately crushed the collar around his neck that sealed his demonic power. With the seal released, Naberiasu directly revealed his most powerful demon form. At this moment, Naberiasu had completely lost his sanity. He no longer possessed any sense of self-consciousness. Until every last bit of his power was exhausted, he would continue slaughtering without end. Soru raised his sword and charged straight at him. In the very next second, he was swallowed whole by Naberiasu in a single bite. Just as everyone believed Soru was dead, he miraculously revived. At that moment, Wisteria discovered that Diana still had a faint trace of breathing. Marbas said that as long as they could restore her consciousness, they might still be able to stop the rampaging Naberiasu. After hearing this, Soru immediately ordered Astaroth to take Diana away for treatment. In order to stop Naberiasu, Marbas also had to release his own seal. But once Marba released his seal, he would also lose control just like Naberiasu. Therefore, he needed the assistance of Wisteria, his contractor. Wisteria then removed the collar from Marbas' tail. In an instant, he transformed into his strongest demon form. The collar in Wisteria's hand simultaneously transformed into a magic staff. Marba used raging flames to construct towering walls of fire, trapping Naberiasu within them. At that moment, the newly awakened Diana also rushed back to the battlefield. Marba instructed Diana to focus her mind, using the consciousness of a contractor as the medium, to control Naberiasu's demonic power. With Wisteria's assistance, Diana successfully summoned her magic staff. And at last, Naberiasu was sealed once more. Just as everyone thought the crisis had finally passed, a tattoo-covered man stepped forward. He was none other than Soru. The reason he possessed an immortal body was because he had formed a contract with a three-eyed demon in his childhood, and thus obtained an undying body. Knowing that Soru could never truly be killed, Naberiasu decided to slaughter every single one of Soru's subordinates, to repay the price for what they had done to Diana. Upon hearing this, Soru instantly flashed in front of Naberiasu and made a proposal. He would report to the royal family that Diana was already dead, and at the same time, request that the royal family restore the honor of the Black Bell family. In order to draw a final conclusion to all of this,